Ford Focus 2012 through 2018 heater hose O-ring replacement. Here are the O-rings I have. It came as a pack of 100 for approximately $15. If you want to pause the screen here, you can go ahead and scan that bar tag there and order yourself some. I've also got a couple of pair of needle nose vice grips I'm going to pinch the hoses with just to minimize coolant loss. The heater core is still going to drip out, okay? And I have a spill-free funnel kit. And I'm going to use that to bleed the cooling system out. And then you may notice I have this pressure tester as well. I'm just doing that for demonstration purposes to show you if these seals work or not, if they seal. And I do have this disconnect tool, which I can link down below in the description if you'd like me to. Probably do that either way. And I have a pick here, and make sure it's important that you get one that's kind of curved inward like this. This one's deformed. I did that, but it'll be obvious. At Harbor Freight, you can get a set of picks, and you use the one that curves back like that. Next, something I don't have is you can get an Allen wrench that's about as wide as this O-ring here. That way you can use the short end of the Allen wrench, go into the hose, kind of clean out the ridge where the O-ring sits. And that's just, you know, if your O-ring had come apart and left a bunch of debris and junk inside of the hose, you can clean it out with a small Allen wrench. I'm gonna take this cap off here to relieve pressure on the cooling system so nothing squirts out at me when I disconnect that. Okay. If this is stuck on for you, you can get a big pair of channel locks and just muscle it off like that. It may break, but I have a separate video to get that out of there if it breaks. The hoses are labeled left hand and right hand. See that? Just to make it a little easier for you. Okay. That is like that from the factory, so yep, just keep that in mind. That's how they go. And if you look here, I do have my needle nose vice grips crimped down on the hose just to minimize coolant loss here. Okay. You want to bite down firmly enough to, you know, close off the flow of the coolant, but not tight enough where you're going to cut the hose. Just be careful. Oh boy, that was a bear. Okay, let me show you what I did here. I popped this harness out of the retainer on the firewall right here, kind of get it pushed down there. And you see how this tool aligns with the special connector. I slid it on to where the ears slide into these provisions on the side of the tool, just like that. Whoops. And then I rotated it counterclockwise. You may want to shoot a little bit of penetrating oil on these before you even try this, because that would help. But like I said, I just slid the tool on to where this went into the groove, rotated counterclockwise, had to put some muscle into it, but eventually, with outward pressure as well, it came off. So at this point, I'm going to take this tool off of here. And if you look in there, there's going to be an O-ring. You may not be able to see it, but in person you will. You just go in there with your pick and get it out. I'm trying to get you a view here of the O-ring before I pull it out. It's right on the end of the white collar in there. You can kind of make it out. It's flattened down on this one. There it is. I ended up using the pick that looks like this. Be very, very careful not to drop that O-ring down in there. Okay. Before I forget, let me go in here and disconnect the other one. Okay, it's slid on down in there as far as I can. There we go. Now rotate counterclockwise, and this is tough. Maybe get a little penetrating oil. Just keep going back and forth and rotating it, and you may need to push in a little while you rotate. Just be patient with it. Boy, these are a lot tougher to get off than I thought they would be. That service tool there off of Amazon is a big help with this. So go ahead and get this other O-ring out. Okay, they're both out. If your old O-rings are really gummed up and wore down, you can, like I said, you can get a little tiny Allen wrench in there and just rub around the inside where the seal goes just to clean it up a little. Okay. Here's the new O-rings. Looks like a match to me, approximately. Yeah, like I said, once I get the new ones in here, I'm going to do a pressure test just to prove that these work. Before you slide these back on, oh, first off, I didn't get the O-rings in yet, but make sure you rotate these to the locked position so that they just kind of click on. So I'm going to grab this other one here and rotate it back to the locked position. There we go. You'll feel it. I'm going to lather some silicone caliper grease dielectric compound on the seals before I pop them in. There we go. See? I kind of pushed it in there with my pinky finger and tried to get it into the ridge. You can kind of see it in there. And I'm going to gently tuck it into the slot in there with this pick. Just gently pushing it in. The silicone on there actually also helps have it stick up in there so it doesn't just fall down into the hose. So definitely put some silicone on it. Okay, here's how I did it. I got it put in there at first with my pinky. Got it tucked in a little bit into the ridge in there with the pick. And then to finish it off, I went back in with the pinky and rotated around until it popped right in. Now, doing all that, some of the silicone did come off. So I'm going to either get some silicone on my pinky and put it in there on the O-ring, or just lather it up on these fittings here. Make sure you clean these fittings as well. Make sure there's no dust or debris on them, okay? Alright, now I'm going to repeat on this side. Get that O-ring in there. Okay, that side's in as well now. I wouldn't get too overconfident, like if you get it in pretty easily the first time, because if you get too confident and you drop that in there, that could be bad. I would get compressed air and blow it on the opposite side, and maybe it'll go through and blow the seal out on this side. You will have to take your vice grips off for that, and you'll also likely get a big belch of coolant. Anyway. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and double check and make sure these fittings are clean. Wipe them down with a rag, get some new silicone and smear them on the fittings, and then I'll be done. I can pop these on and then bleed the cooling system. Okay? Alright, the fittings are all cleaned up. The O-rings double checked. They're in there. These are rotated clockwise to the locked position. So in theory now, starting with the right one here. Nope. I think you gotta push hard on these. Yeah, you just gotta push pretty hard on them. See, it's not coming back off now. It didn't click or anything, but yeah, you just gotta push hard on it. Here's the left one. Get it on here. Real time. Let me show you. See, it just kind of popped on it. Oh, okay. It locked there. Give it a little push and make sure. Good. Go ahead and get this harness retainer on. You can pressure wash all this off if you'd like. Alright, I've got my spill-free funnel kit opened up. Okay, opened up here. I'm going to get the fitting in here, seal slide down. That fits on the degas bottle. That pops in. Take the appropriate fastener for the fitting here and tighten it down. Tight. I'm using VC13G. That is Motorcraft VC13G. The new yellow coolant replaces the orange, and it is intermixable. Almost forgot, you can take your vice grips off the hoses now. You kind of have to bleed it. I like to do a 50-50 mix of coolant and water, but honestly, at this moment in time, this is almost straight coolant I'm pouring in here, so at a later time I'll service it again and get the right mixture in, but yeah, there we go, 50-50. Alright, now I'm going to start the engine, run the heat, and just let it idle until it's hot air coming out of the vents. You may need to rev it a few times to help burp it, but with the engine at idle, it should be warm air coming out of the vents, and that indicates that there's no air remaining in the system, or very minimal. That'll burp out on its own. Alright, the engine is running now. It's going to start bubbling up the air pockets, and lucky for me, I just went on lunch, so the coolant is still pretty warm. So it's not going to take too long to warm up. So here you go. Just going to let it sit here, warm up, and burp the air bubbles out. Okay. It's starting to mix in with the old orange and change color a bit, so I believe the thermostat's opening up. If you're having trouble getting it to bleed, you can hold the RPMs up on the engine to about 3,000 and then turn the key off. And then you might hear it gurgle and bubble up some air pockets. Also make sure that your spill-free funnel's topped off. The higher the level is, the higher the high point is in the cooling system, so it'll make bleeding easier if this is full right here. Once the air is hot coming out of the vents and you're satisfied with that, you can go ahead and stick that in there, pull this out, and empty it in your coolant jug. Okay? Don't forget to snap your coolant hoses back in this retainer here. And I do have 21 PSI on the cooling system right now. There's no leaks. I've moved the hoses around. I didn't see any dribbles. So in my professional opinion, this is a good repair. These O-rings, it'll work for you. So that'll save you hundreds of dollars. Well, you know, maybe about $200 if you were to buy OEM hoses. That would be a couple $100. So here you go, just a little quick simple repair for you. Common issue. Have yourselves a great day. I hope this helps you out.